As a church, we need to do a better job equipping our middle and high school kids to process and properly evaluate the non-Christian and at times anti-Christian worldviews they encounter in today's secular world. That process, though, should not include teaching them that evolution is false and that they need to reject evolution. That would be counterproductive. We're worried about our kids leaving the faith, and this may push more of them out the door. Todd Friel encourages just such a mistaken strategy in a recent video. I'll play the key segments and react. Hey, I'm John and welcome to my channel. We believe that you can be a faithful follower of Jesus and not reject modern science. Now, in a recent video, Todd Friel of Wretched Radio previews Road Trip to Truth, a 13-part video series that gives answers to life's biggest questions from a Christian point of view. He points out that our high school kids, and even junior high kids, come under the influence of non-Christian, even anti-Christian ideas and values. Ideas and values that can cause one to leave the faith if a teenager is not prepared to and equipped to deal with these objections to Christianity. And so we need to help our kids to handle, to think through issues that they will be exposed to that may cause doubt. And I think this is a very important endeavor.
You and I have a tendency to think our kids, they're going to youth group, they're safely nestled in the security of an evangelical family, but then they run off to the big bad wolves at university, and that's when they lose it. Nope, they're already gone. High school kids are already wandering away from the faith that they probably don't possess in the first place because they're getting hammered by secular humanism already.
As Todd points out, our kids are smart and they can handle big ideas. We need to be discussing life's biggest questions with them.
They are plenty smart and they can consume big ideas. After all, they're being taught them all day long in schools. Why are we doing the same? Why aren't we treating our kids like they've actually got some gray matter? So many youth groups, they're filled with whipped cream, pizza parties, and peanut butter. But we're not talking about the big ideas that the world is already talking to them about.
Okay, so now he plays a clip from this Road Trip to Truth video series. Apparently, the speaker is going to expose one of the big bad ideas that our kids are being exposed to, an idea that should scare us. And yes, it's evolution.
When it comes to how life began, the most commonly held belief is that we got here through evolution, a process that happened by chance.
So right away, he seems to be confusing how life began with the theory of evolution. They are different things. Also, I'd like to point out that Mr. Faberez, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, seems to not recognize the view that God could be behind the beginning of life and evolution. But let's continue.
A chance that's so small and so improbable that it's almost impossible to represent. Evolutionist Sir Fred Hoyle put it like this: the odds of life springing from non-life are 1 in 10 to the 40,000th power. That's 1 divided by 10 with 40,000 zeros.
Yeah, I hope he is uninformed or confused rather than being misleading. He seems to imply he is talking about the theory of evolution, but here he is not. He is talking about a theory of how life began, abiogenesis. When he says he is talking about life springing from non-life, that is abiogenesis. The theory of evolution is different. It is how life progressed from the first simple life form to our current diversity of life forms, including humans. We have a ton of evidence for the theory of evolution, but research in abiogenesis is at an earlier stage, although lots of great work has been done. It's not right for Mr. Faberez to say, well, you haven't proven abiogenesis, so therefore you haven't proven evolution, because those are two different things. Now let's also address this 1 in a gazillion chance thing. First of all, when God is in control, like he is, the creation of life would not be random. God can get the dice to fall however he wills. Does Mr. Faberez not believe in miracles or the omnipotence of God? But second, I don't know whether Hoyle's statement is fully accurate. There have been many objections to it. I do know that Fred Hoyle was an astronomer, not a biologist or biochemist, so this wasn't his field. And he was pushing a different hypothesis, that life arrived on Earth from space. In short, I'm pretty sure that we're not getting the full context and story here. But I don't currently have a stance on abiogenesis. There's lots of great work being done. If God chose to kickstart life on Earth by a chemical reaction rather than by a direct creation, Who am I to critique his choice? Either way, he is God and he created.
If those were the odds that your favorite team was going to win the Super Bowl, would you bet your life savings? Would you bet your soul?
Whoa, wait a minute. Would you bet your soul? Is he saying that that is what is happening here? Is he implying that your soul is in jeopardy if you don't agree with his personal view of how life began and developed, of how God in his infinite wisdom and power chooses to create?
Regardless if you think we have a soul or not, Christianity claims that your soul is on the line. Your immortal soul, the thing inside of you that makes you you. Jesus put it like this: what would it profit a person if they gained the whole world, but they lost their soul? Heaven and hell is what awaits. Why would you place your bet on an impossibility?
Place your bet? With your soul on the line? One way to read this is that he is saying that if you believe in evolution or abiogenesis, you are not going to heaven. I hope I'm misunderstanding him. But if I'm confused, others will be too. Kids will spot the implicit threat and revolt against it. No one, including teenagers, likes to be threatened like that or told they are going to hell for exploring their world and trying to figure out the answers to the big questions of life, or for merely accepting strongly supported scientific theories like evolution. Believe what I tell you or you're going to hell is not a very effective tactic to use with teenagers. Now, maybe I've misunderstood him, but at the very least, he does not seem to be leaving any room for believing in evolution and also believing that God is behind it all. This either-or, science versus God dichotomy is very dangerous because when the kids do their homework and realize that evolution is true, they may wind up leaving the faith. Now then he does his best Ray Comfort impersonation and pulls out the tornado in a junkyard argument.
Sir Fred Hoyle. He's the guy who coined the term Big Bang. He was the guy who came up with the term Big Bang. He said in a recent address at Caltech that no amount of time now being considered by evolutionists is remotely adequate to accomplish the formation of a higher living organism by chance. Such an event would be comparable to the chance of a tornado sweeping through a junkyard and assembling a fully functional Boeing 747. Possible or impossible based on the odds?
I think that has a lot of moving parts to it.
It seems to have been what has occurred. I don't know if I agree with him saying that nothing could have done that in that time frame.
I have two comments here. First, these young adults don't know how to refute the argument, but if I'm reading them correctly, to their credit, they sense that it is wrong. They smell it as a bad argument, even if they can't put their fingers on why. Now second, it is a bad argument. The tornado argument, as Mr. Faberez is employing it, assumes that a human gets created in one fell swoop. This is not how evolution works. Evolution works via incremental changes over time. A small gust of wind puts one piece together with another, and then another gust of wind comes along and adds or changes another piece, and so forth. Also, a tornado denotes randomness. And yes, mutations are random, but evolution works via natural selection, so there is a guiding process. And the argument is weak in other ways as well. In short, it's just a bad argument. Now back to Todd.
That is the lie of evolution that our kids are being fed and too many are consuming. In an effort to deny the existence of God, our kids are forced to believe in utter nonsense.
So evolution is a lie? Are all the scientists lying to us? Do they think evolution is false but are telling us it is true? Is there a great conspiracy that makes QAnon look like child's play? Todd, is that what you are selling our kids? And again, there's no room here for God in the evolutionary process, according to Todd. And then he finishes by returning to the general theme of talking with our kids about big ideas.
I say, fa on silly youth groups and the nonsense and gross out games. Let's start respecting our kids and introducing them to big ideas.
Yes, do that, but don't tell our kids they have to choose between evolution and God. That is not a big idea. It's a small one.